So, I have thoughts. Here we go. All right. Hey guys, this is the unofficial Geek Channel, and I am Carrie Quinn. As always, your wonderful, well, I think I'm wonderful, host of today's edition of Collected Edition Tuesdays. Today, we're going to talk about Batman Under the Red Hood. Because if you've been on my channel before, you know Jason Todd is my comic book boyfriend. Anywho. And because last week we talked about Hush. The Hush. Where we get a little tease at the end about Jason Todd returning. Unfortunately, what we think happens at the end of Hush is made to look like a ruse. Put a pin in that. We'll be back. So, Under the Red Hood, collected edition I have here is the collected paperback edition. You can see the back right there. Let's see here. The people responsible for this piece of literature and art is Judd Winnick, Doug Mankey, Shane Davis, Eric Battle, and Paul Lee. This collected edition collects these following issues. Batman 535 through 641. Then we skip to 645 through 650. And then we have the sold out Batman Annual number 25, which coincidentally has become, as of today, one of my grails to find. There is, and I'll get to this in a minute, like a little bit when I get to talking about that. There is a cover by Jock, I believe is the main cover. That is a homage cover to a poor from the Death in the Family, the cover. Okay. So, and if you're familiar with Death in the Family, if you're familiar with Jason Todd's story at all, you know what I mean by saying the cover of Death of the Family, I would think. But you'll be able to confirm that in a moment because I am going to make sure to show you because I love it. Anywho, let's talk about the good, the bad, and the somewhat annoying of Batman Under the Red Hood. This edition of Collected Edition Tuesdays. Okay, so like I mentioned, I love Jason Todd. We've brought that up several times here on this program, on this channel, and so when we had everything that happened in Hush come up, especially the ending, it seemed only natural to progress into Batman Under the Red Hood. Now, am I going to have that easy of a progression with my next collected edition? I'm not completely sure. But, and my phone is making noises. That's always fun. So let me turn that down. There we go. So, the good, the bad, and the somewhat annoying of Batman Under the Red Hood is that we have a situation. That we have a few things going on with this that makes it a little bit jumpy at times, a little wobbly, a little wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey. I will say that there have been a number of questions that I have had involving what I knew prior to reading this about the story of Red Hood and Jason Todd that did get answered. So that's always good. So before I get really into the nitty gritty of Under the Red Hood, I'm going to put a little notice right here, right now, in order to really talk about some of the good, the bad, and the somewhat annoying about Under the Red Hood. I'm going to have to tell you guys right here that if you've never read Under the Red Hood and you care about spoilers, or you're planning to read it sometime soon, you probably don't want to watch this video. Save the video someplace, save the link someplace, and come back to it if you care. And then we can, have this one-sided conversation about Red Hood. I should mention that the conversation goes from being a one-sided conversation to a two-sided conversation if you comment, which some of my wonderful viewers do comment. And I suspect I will definitely get some of that awesome comment content. I try to respond to every comment. And I got a pretty good track record, I think, so far. So we're gonna get into that. We're gonna do this full spoiler-tastic version of Under the Red Hood, an editorial review, I guess we could call it. First off, overall, this was an enjoyable read. There are moments in it that, like I said, are wibbly wobbly. But overall, okay, let's start with the good. Let's start with the good points. The good points, it's a well-rounded story. It does not just have this whole Jason versus Batman thing. You've got a really great storyline that includes Black Mask. If you have another really cool point about this, especially about Black Mask, is if you don't have a lot of exposure to Black Mask, like I do not, and your exposure is basically watching the movie Birds of Prey, which I love. So you're sitting there honestly, and you, like, if you're like me, you're imagining Ewan McGregor talking like Black Mask, and I love the fact that there is this gritty wit about this gritty wit scumbag thing involving Black Mask, and how he's very sarcastic and it's fun. Okay. So basically, you've got this whole Black Mask thing. And then another thing that was really cool was, if you have, like I have, watched the DC Titans show, and the most recent season, we have their version of the storyline of Jason becoming the Red Hood. And there's a scene in the series, in one of the early on episodes of that whole progression, where you have everyone sitting, like all these crime, bosses sitting at a table, all these drug dealing crime bosses sitting at a table, and somebody starts talking to them, and then somebody drops a duffel bag full of heads on the table, and you find out that it's everybody's second in command, their lieutenants. Their heads are in the bag. And I, having not read Under the Red Hood before, did not know that that was a scene from Under the Red Hood. And it is a scene in pretty early on in the text of Under the Red Hood, where Red Hood is trying to get these people in his main wheelhouse by basically killing off their lieutenants and saying, okay, so I won't do this to you if you join me instead of Black Mask. A number of the things that I do like is, yes, you have that whole like bad guy thing happening there. You have the bad guy thing happening in other places. with Jason, but there's moments where you're like, this is a bad guy I can vibe with, because yes, he does partake in the whole drug deals and drug sales thing. But however, he has a little bit of a moral compass when it comes to this kind of criminal activity. So he is also pretty much a one man band in regards to, yes, he's got all these people underneath him and everything like that doing work for him, but he's basically like this one man band in regards to like wiping out the competition, so to speak. He is always taking off Black Mask by doing that, and you get some kind of really cool art that shows some of these moments. There's like this really cool panels, like about like that big, right? Where there is Jason has just thrown a grenade in a van cab, a van, the cab of a van, that is carrying a bunch of weapons, a bunch of arms, like that kind of thing, like guns and shit like that, for Black Mask's operation. And he throws a grenade and then zooms off on his motorcycle, and it's like really cool. Maybe I can find it here really quick. If I can find it here really quick, that would be really cool. I would definitely enjoy that so much. Let's see here. I don't want to spend too much time trying to. Oh, right here, right when I'm about to give up. So here it is. So you see him tossing the grenade, right? And then you see this panel right here. This is the one I'm talking about. I love it so much. I I love it. I would love like an art print of that, possibly. Maybe a stylization from an artist. I don't know. It's really kind of cool. So you're finding out that while he is taking up in this whole drug run criminal type empire, forming his own little criminal empire thing to rival Black Mask, you're finding he has a little bit of a morality to it, possibly having to deal with his past involving his parents, um, and what have you. But there's this one of these other vigilantes that Batman allows to operate within Gotham. Onyx has tracked down a number of people that are still working for Black Mask. And they're talking about certain things. They're talking about how some of their people that worked under them were killed recently that used to work in certain areas of Gotham. And so it's really cool. And this is why I'm mentioning it, because of his morality that he does have. Onyx is in like a warehouse kind of overhead, listening and eavesdropping on what these people are saying down below on the main level on the floor. And she's not paying attention to what's happening like above her or behind her. And so then she's sitting there listening to them talking about how their people were killed by the Red Hood. And then she all of a sudden hears, what they're not talking about is this guy starts talking to this voice starts talking to her. And he's like, well, what they're not talking about is how I caught those guys trying to sell hard drugs to kids outside of a school. And so he's just like saying, I got rid of these people because they were victimizing children. And that guy does this to kids. And that guy did this that was really bad. And he starts pointing out each of them and stuff that they've done. And he's like, okay, so here's the thing. I'm going to go down there and I'm going to rough these guys up. How about, would you like to join me? He invites Onyx to come along. Would you like to join me? And she's just like thinks about it for a second after he jumps down there and starts, doing his thing. She thinks about it for a minute and she's like, you know what the hell, why not? Um so but she learns quickly that while she operates under the same kind of code that Batman requires everyone to operate under because Batman's a control freak, um Jason, on the other hand, does not stop at biting. He doesn't stop at biting everyone. Um, he doesn't stop at fighting them and tying them up when waiting for the police to arrive. No siree. He is actually killing these people. Um, and that upsets her because she's like, wait, hold on. 1 minute. Why is this happening? And he's like, this is how this is. And one of the themes that you have coming out throughout the whole book is this is this is what Jason is willing to do that Batman was never willing to do. Um Another thing that comes up, yeah. So that's pretty heavy right there. Like Jason is like, I'm doing this because Batman won't, kind of thing. Um so in stories like this, you expect, well, one, before the big reveal happens to Bruce and Batman, okay? Um you have Batman is all kind of like roughed up in the head. Like starts, wondering because if you recall at the end of Hush, he's aware of the fact that there is an empty grave. Jason's grave is empty. And so he's just like he's there's a part of him that's under the impression that he fought Clayface, just kind of like taking the form of Jason. But then there's a part of him that is kind of messed up about everything because he's just like, but wait, this seemed a little too real for me. And I'm a man of science, and this is something that's too real to me. So he starts asking around because he remembers some of the people he's worked with on Justice League, and some of his friends have come back from the dead. All right, so he goes and he talks to Ollie. Ollie's got a bit of an attitude with him. He's like, you know what, dude? Batman's like, you know what, Ollie? I have no idea where this is coming from, so I'm gonna leave. So he doesn't get the answers he's looking for from Ollie. Um, and so then he eventually, and he's also dealing with, Jason, Red Hood, which he doesn't know is Jason yet. And it's all looking too familiar. The moves, the way he operates, it's all looking way too familiar. So you've got that also kind of, you know, in his brain. Um, so he gets to Superman and he's talking to Superman and he's asking all these questions because at this time, this storyline takes place after Doomsday. Okay. So Superman has gone through the whole, you know, I was killed by Doomsday, but then I came back to life thing. And Superman eventually gets to the point in this conversation, he's like, where is this coming from? And Bruce just at that point, like Batman at that point is just like, I don't even know anymore. Like he is so dumbfounded by the whole situation. And it's about like at that point, we're about halfway through the book, right? Halfway through. And usually in reveals like this, story structure wise, the reveal happens a little bit further on in the story structure for stories like this. But for this, we had this gosh darn reveal, like right there in the middle. Right there in the middle of it. And so then on Batman's end, you have him for the rest of the time, like, is this really Jason? Like right from the beginning, Jason, like when he reveals who he is to Batman, um, he's like, here's a Batarang, here are all my fingerprints. Oh yeah, here's a sample of my blood. Here, check it out for yourself. You know? And that was really cool. I did enjoy that part. Now, so we get this whole like, now Batman has to sit there and actually deal with the fact that this had happened, even though he has absolutely no clue and understanding how this happened whatsoever. Now, you move on to like the next part of Jason's plan, where Jason has taken a hostage. That hostage happens to be, you probably guessed it, the Joker. So, one of the things that I really liked, but I also was annoyed by, we're going to talk about that next. Okay, so there's a part of the narration that's done by Alfred. And Alfred is going to get the mail, and he's talking about how when Bruce was young, they liked to read books a lot and collect first editions. And it was always about the hunt. And there were two people that knew about that besides Bruce and Alfred. One is Dick Grayson, and the other is, as Alfred says in the text, he thought he was dead but isn't anymore, I guess, Jason Todd. So the way that Batman finds out that Jason has the Joker is because Alfred gets a package in the mail, and the package has two books, all right, and then a separate little package wrapped with ribbon in the on top of those inside the package. So Alfred does some tests and finds out there's no incinerate devices, nothing is, crazy there. But his there's like a note, right? And it's like B and A, here's another couple to add to the stacks. Love, Jason. Okay, so there are clearly two books in the box. So this is how weird I am. All right. We find out what's in the little box on top of the books in the package. It's a lock of the Joker's hair and an address. Okay, but okay, we saw that coming. It's gonna have to be something involving the Joker and where he has the Joker and all that wonderfulness. What were the books? Nowhere in the text does it actually say, yeah, okay, this was a piece of the Joker's hair. We figured that out. Nowhere in the text does it say the name of the books. I mean, think about this here. I can't be the only person that has read Under the Red Hood and been upset, been annoyed by the fact that I don't know what the fucking books were. Okay? I can't be the only one. I can't be the only one. I can't be that only crazy person that wants to know the name of the books. I can't be. Somebody, if you have read, if you're watching this and you've read Under the Red Hood, I'm sure other people have. Did you ever get annoyed by the fact that you don't know the books that Jason sent? It's like, you can totally see the idea of Jason sending them a lock of the Joker's hair. This does not surprise me. It shouldn't surprise anyone. I want to know the books. Why weren't we told? Oh well, anyways, that's one of the things that annoyed me, by the way. If you couldn't already tell, by the way, I was telling y'all, that's one of the things that annoyed me about Under the Red Hood. Now, let's keep going. All right, so Bruce finds out the address from Alfred. He goes and he eventually ends up on in a warehouse with Jason and the Joker, where you find out that the thing that bothers Jason the most is not that Batman couldn't make it to him in time. The thing that bothers Jason the most is that he was not avenged. Now hold on to that thought and that phrase, that he was unavenged, because we're coming back to it. Put a pin in that one. So we got this whole situation. We got a fight. Obviously, we know we have this big fight involving the two of them. And and Jason's like, I honestly forgive you for not being there to stop me from getting killed. What I can't wrap my head around is why this guy's still alive. I can't, he's like, I can't get it. I can't understand it. I can't understand how he killed me and he's still alive. To which Batman has a response in how he wanted to kill him, but he couldn't do it, for Batman reasons. Batman reasons. That he really wanted to, and it would have been so easy to do it. But he didn't, for Batman reasons. So it turns out, while they're sitting there and they're arguing about that and everything like that, so here is my next annoying part of Under the Red Hood. You ready? You ready? So they look off in the distance, Jason and Batman, and they see a society plane. Now, society, actually, I didn't get to mention this, but Deathstroke has his own group called the Society, which basically it is Rent a Villain. Okay? It's Rent a Villain. It's, you got a problem? Rent a villain. With Deathstroke's The Society. Anyway, it seems kind of fleeting in the whole overall scheme of the whole entire story, except for when we get to this part. Yes, Black Mask rents villains from Deathstroke's The Society. They are easily defeated. Moving on. There is a moment where Jason Todd actually kills Captain Nazi, and he's like, aren't you glad that I killed Captain Nazi? Yes, Jason. Yes. I am glad you killed Captain Nazi. So anyways, okay, so they are easily defeated by Rent a Villain from Deathstroke. Okay, so Rent a Villain, the Society, Deathstroke's The Society, which is Rent a Villain. They are looking off the coast, Batman and Red Hood, towards Bloodhaven. So, a society plane from Deathstroke's the Society Rent a Villain corporation flies over and is on top of Bloodhaven, releases Chemo, villain, obviously. Chemo. We're pretty aware of who Chemo is. Okay, I don't think I have to explain this, but basically releases Chemo as like a nuclear explosion, a nuclear bomb in Bloodhaven. Now, Bloodhaven not only is a fairly large city of its own, it is Gotham's sister city, is right next to Gotham, but it is also the home at this time of one Dick Grayson, Nightwing. A nuclear bomb just went off in Bloodhaven. Batman is under the impression that Dick Grayson, Nightwing, is in Bloodhaven at this time. That's a pretty big development here. Like, that's pretty huge development. Pretty big, okay? You don't just show someone a nuclear explosion in Bloodhaven. The Nightwing may or may not be dead. I mean, obviously, if you've been keeping up with comics lately, Nightwing is not dead. Okay, but Nightwing may or may not be dead, right? And Batman's like, oh my god, I gotta go. And Jason's like, okay, that was a nuclear explosion. You can't go. He does say some wise, shitty remark about another one of Batman's Robins being killed, which was not nice, but Jason's a dick at this point. He's witty. He's got the witty banter. He's got a certain smidgen of morality, but he's a dick. Okay? Anyways, so you have this big explosion, right? You have the possibility, if you weren't already aware, that the fact that Nightwing, it's Schrodinger's Nightwing right now. Okay? Dick Grayson, the first Robin, it's Schrodinger's dick right now. It's Schrodinger's dick right now. Dick is either alive and kicking or completely toast. Okay? And basically the present tense activity of Under the Red Hood ends. It just ends. Nothing else. Okay, now, not only does it not address anything about what just happened besides the fact that it happened, we also have a situation where, okay, now I read using two different sources. Either I'm going to be using the actual book and or DC Universe Infinite, okay, which is a site and or app where you can read all these old stories of DC Universe. I use it quite frequently with a lot of things, researching, past issues and that kind of thing, going back, reading where it happened. Plus, I've been using it so far with my Flashback Friday series. So it just ends, okay? And it basically ends where you're like, what the hell is going on? One, Jason is seemingly bleeding out at this point from the battle. And there was just a nuclear explosion in Bloodhaven, and it's just like, little narration, and then we're done. Okay, now something that happened. I go back and forth because, like, I definitely use the DC Infinite Universe app site on my phone. So if I can't take the full book with me, I find where I'm at in the story and I read from there. Like, maybe I'm waiting, in the car for something. Maybe I'm, someplace where I can have the book with me. Yeah, you know what? You can read into that where you want to, but honestly, yes, sometimes I take it to the bathroom. When I'm taking a shit, I read, okay? So, little bit of just an idea of what's going on here. I get to the certain point with this book where I get to the point of the present tense action here, right? And I'm sitting there like, and what? So I take myself to the DC Infinite Universe site, right? So I'm trying to get to the end here so like I can read start reading the Batman annual number 25 annual number 25, which has the basically, if you have any question of how this happened to Jason Todd, how he died the boy wonder and came back an adult, that answers that question, among other things, as to how this happened. But when I get to the end of the present tense issue, Batman number 650, okay, on the DC Infinite site, I get to what I think is the last page, and I go forward to thinking it's going to jump me into the next issue, which would be the Batman Annual. But there's one more page. You have like this whole page thing, right? Where there's kind of like a little like vertigo like thing, and then Batman's like falling. And it's like, hey, so many months later, is next. And I'm like, what? What is so many months later? Okay, first off, I was already annoyed that you weren't going to expand more on that whole, nuclear bombing of Bloodhaven thing. I, I've seen other collected editions kind of go above and beyond the main storyline to kind of tie some things up there at the end. Why didn't it do it with this? One. Two, why is there a whole page missing? It's not like it was not. The freaking pages did not stick together, believe me. I really did that whole thing with the pages. It's, yeah. Yeah, that's how it is, because it just went straight on to the annual, which, let me tell you guys, the annual has now, everything aside, the annual is now one of my grails. I am looking for the annual because I absolutely thought it was awesome. I'm looking for a specific cover for the annual. I want to show you guys because it's cool. It's an homage to that cover, right? From Death in the Family. And it's done by Jacques. See? It's this one right here, obviously, because it's the one that's the homage cover. So that is the one I'm looking for. And apparently I've already been on eBay, and it is totally affordable, totally obtainable, and I'm definitely going to be getting that when I get paid. Now, do not see the other cover, but it is, I thought I saw the other cover somewhere in here, but I'm not seeing it here right now. So basically what the Batman Annual 25 is doing is it's basically answering that burning question: how the heck did this happen? And it does answer it, and it answers it well. One burning question: how the heck is he even alive? There's some, mystical cosmic thing that happens involving Superman that it kind of expands and hits Jason, and Jason basically wakes up in his casket and has to scratch for the surface. And the problem is once Jason gets out of that situation, he is completely zombified, okay? And then falls into a coma. And which he stays in for quite some time because, and nobody knows, because his fingerprints and all that stuff have been wiped from the system, because that's what Batman does, and it explains that, so that he can't be traceable. And I get that, if you want to be a vigilante that nobody knows who you are, you want to make sure you're not traceable. So I get that. But it doesn't really help Jason in this situation in having someone there. He does call out to Bruce, which is heartbreaking. And then falls into a coma where he stays for a year. He wakes up next time he's in a convalescent home, and he still does not have any memory of anything, doesn't really know who he is, but he escapes anyway, that convalescent home, to live on the streets. And it seems like he does have this um, um, sensory memory to him, that when somebody that he fought once as Robin comes and tries to mess with him on the street, he falls into his old physical altercation patterns. And this guy does recognize that. And it's like, man, you know what? I think I found Robin. Gets in contact with some bad guys. They're getting in contact with their bad guys. And their bad guys happen to be one Talia al Ghul. Talia al Ghul is, of course, interested and willing to pay top dollar for Mr. Jason Todd to be brought to her estate, where she shares um, with her father, Ra's al Ghul. Now, Talia spends a lot of time trying to rehabilitate Jason. Um, and she's not using anything at this point, but, just whatever. She's like, you know what? He has great potential as a fighter and all this, and this is her reasoning for doing it. Plus probably um dot 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 the whole Batman thing, you know. I don't think I have to expand on that very much with Talia al Ghul. The whole Batman thing has definitely a lot to do with what she's doing involving Jason Todd. So it gets to the point where Ra's al Ghul is like, this is not working out. You've gotten literally nowhere with this. And so here's the thing. I'm going to have him removed from the house, and I'm going to make sure that he is put someplace safe, out of respect for the work that you've tried to do with him and for his mentor, i.e. Batman. I will make sure that he stays safe, out of respect for you, but ultimately also out of respect for his mentor, because Ra's al Ghul, bad guy, but for some reason kind of respects Bruce Batman. Yeah. So he's just like, at this point, like, this is on the day, like, that Ra's is about ready to go and take his little hop in the big bathtub. Okay. He's like, but if you excuse me, I am feeling weak. So he goes into his room that's locked under, like a keypad of his Lazarus pit. Now he goes and he jumps in the pit, and comes out, and jumps up, and he's like, I'm refreshed. Like, it's like the ultimate bath. Okay. Like, he is just completely wiped up, 100 years here. Okay. And there he is. And Talia's like, I got inside, and I'm throwing Jason into the pit. Jason gets thrown into the pit. All of a sudden, he remembers who he is, but he's still kind of fuzzy on the last few years. Right? So Talia grabs him, has this bag already, this go bag already for him, with information about what happened. And she leaves him with one phrase. I want you to remember this. You remain unavenged. So he goes off and he looks at all this stuff, right? And he realizes what's going on. So then she's like, okay, so now you know. And then he goes off and he does his own major training and everything like that. He goes off, he does his major training where he goes to other places and trains kind of like Bruce did. Okay. And he develops his skill and everything like that. So this is how you've got a number, like 3 to 5 years where all this development is happening. And then she's like, okay, so you're back now. All right, cool. So there's this guy, Hush. You want to get in on that. So what you find out in Under the Red Hood, the main story and in a little bit more in the annual, was that the man that Bruce ended up thinking was Clayface, yes, eventually was Clayface. Clayface did eventually take his spot in that graveyard, but the initial moment um where Jason is standing there and he has a hold of Tim Drake, that is not Clayface. That is Jason Todd. Make no mistake about it. It is Jason Todd, and he is alive. And that was the end of that. So that's the official end of Under the Red Hood. Now, what I came to find out, because I wanted to do a little bit of research involving that whole Bloodhaven thing. The whole Bloodhaven thing, actually, because I wasn't horribly familiar with DC Comics back then, is actually from, and if you are a fan of DC Comics, you probably knew exactly what I was talking about when I was talking about it a few minutes ago. That actually takes place during Infinite Crisis. And there's that whole story. Now you have Infinite Crisis, you have the main title Infinite Crisis, which is 7 issues. But then you have like another, all these major crossover events that happen throughout all of the DC universe. And this is one of them. So you have the 7-issue main Infinite Crisis book, right? But then you have the omnibus, which is everything. There's like, I was looking it up on some sites. It is just over 1,400 pages of Infinite Crisis information. And I want to dig into some portion of that, probably eventually Infinite Crisis, the main titles. If I get overzealous one day, maybe the omnibus, but I actually do not own Infinite Crisis, and I kind of want like the whole idea of having a book plus the DC Infinite to kind of supplement here and there. So we're gonna put a pin on Infinite Crisis. So that will not, even though it would have been a natural progression, it is not the collection that I'm going to do next week. I'm going to do something else. I'm not exactly sure on what that is yet. But here I'm going to go ahead and let you guys know, because I've gotten really long-winded in this because I cared a lot about this. I'm going to tell you right away, my Flashback Friday is going to be still continuing the whole idea of Jason Todd. We are going to go to where it all began. We are going to go to, I have it up on my screen, I think. Hold on. We are going to go my library. Batman 368. The first appearance of Jason Todd. That's what you can expect me to talk about on Flashback Friday, this Friday. And so there we go. Like I said, I'm not exactly sure what my next collected edition will be, but I'll probably let everyone know sometime, maybe on Friday. I'll probably definitely have it decided before Friday, maybe tomorrow, for what's happening Wednesday. I'll throw it in there. But yes, obviously tomorrow we have what's happening Wednesday. More than likely will probably be about the next episode of the Book of Boba Fett, but we'll leave ourselves open for that. Then obviously we have Flashback Friday, which is going to be the first appearance of Jason Todd. And then I believe within the next couple days, I'm going to probably on Thursday be putting up a unboxing and haul video where I'm going to be unboxing at least 2 items and showing off some stuff that I got at a flea market, antique, mall type of situation. Um, Fun for everyone, and I know I have fun, and I hope you guys do too. But this has been the officially unofficial Geek Channel spoiler-tastic version of the Collected Edition Tuesdays Under the Red Hood. My name is Carrie Quinn, and until tomorrow with What's Happening Wednesday, I'll be seeing ya.